Have you ever seen someone pour their heart out, yet no one notices? A man sat on a cold street corner every day, playing music that no one cared to hear. His fingers trembled from the cold, but his soul trembled from something deeper, loneliness. People passed by like he was invisible, until one day a little girl stopped and changed his life forever. Every morning, before the sun fully rose, an old man named Samuel would walk to the same street corner in the city. He carried with him a worn-out violin, its wood faded from years of use. It wasn't just an instrument, it was all he had left of his past life. Once upon a time, Samuel had been a respected music teacher. He had students who adored him, a loving wife who believed in him, and a small home filled with laughter. But life has a way of taking without warning. His wife fell ill, and in trying to save her, Samuel spent everything he had. When she passed away, so did his world. Bills piled up, friends disappeared, and soon Samuel had no home, only memories. The only thing he couldn't let go of was his violin, the last gift his wife had given him. Now the street was his stage and strangers his audience. He would set up a small wooden stool, sit down gently, and close his eyes before playing. Each note he played was a story, some joyful, most filled with sorrow. He didn't play for money, though he placed a small tin can beside him. He played because music was the only way his heart could speak, but the world had changed. People rushed by with phones in hand, headphones in ears, hearts closed. They didn't hear him, some glanced, most ignored. Children tugged at their parents, curious about the music, but parents pulled them away, too busy to stop. Sometimes a coin would drop into his can, sometimes nothing at all. But Samuel still played, not because he expected anything, but because he hoped that maybe one person, just one, would truly listen. His hands would shake in the cold mornings, but he still lifted the bow. His back ached from sitting for hours, but he didn't stop. The world had taken everything from him, but it could not take his music, and yet, deep inside, Samuel wondered, how much longer could he keep going? How long could a man pretend to be strong when he had no one to be strong for? But he never said those words aloud. He simply played, letting the violin cry for him. One afternoon, the weather turned cruel. Dark clouds gathered, wind whipped through the streets, and people hurried for shelter. Samuel sat there, tightening his coat around him, but refusing to leave. He lifted his bow once more, hoping the music would warm his soul, if not his body. But this time, something different happened. A group of teenagers walked by. They weren't in a hurry like the others. One of them snickered, nudging the others. "Look at this old man," he said loudly, "playing like someone's gonna give him a record deal." The others laughed. Samuel kept playing, pretending he didn't hear, but their words were sharp. "Hey!" One shouted, kicking the tin can. The few coins scattered across the pavement. "Nobody's listening to you, old man. Give it up." Samuel froze. His bow stopped midair. For a moment he didn't move. The street grew quiet. Not out of respect, but indifference. People saw what happened, but looked away. No one stepped in. No one helped. Samuel slowly bent down, trembling as he picked up the scattered coins one by one. His knees shook, his back ached, but what hurt most was something no one could see: his pride. As he gathered the last coin, he paused. His reflection stared back at him in the metal. A tired, defeated man. He lifted his violin again, but this time no music came out. His hand fell to his lap. For the first time in years, he couldn't play. Maybe the boys were right. Maybe no one cared. He sat there silently, staring at the ground. Hours passed. The sun began to set, and the street emptied. Samuel didn't move. His heart, once full of melodies, now echoed with silence. Was this it? Was this how his story would end? Not with applause, but with laughter. Just as Samuel was about to stand and leave, he heard soft footsteps approach. He expected another person to pass him by, but instead, the footsteps stopped. He looked up slowly. A little girl stood before him. She couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old. She wore a pink coat, her hair tied in 2 braids, and in her hands was a small cupcake. She looked at him, not with pity, but with warmth. "Are you okay, mister?" she asked softly. Samuel didn't trust his voice. He simply nodded. The little girl hesitated, then gently placed the cupcake beside his violin. "I got this for my birthday," she said, "but I want you to have it." Before Samuel could respond, she did something unexpected. She sat down beside him, right there on the cold pavement. She smiled up at him and said, "Can you play again? I like your music." Samuel felt something flutter inside him, something he hadn't felt in years, hope. His hands trembled as he lifted the violin. He placed it under his chin, closing his eyes, and then he played, but this time it was different. He wasn't playing for strangers. He was playing for someone who truly listened. The little girl swayed gently, smiling with every note. Soon her mother came rushing over, instead of pulling her away. She stopped, she listened too. One by one, people gathered, not out of obligation, not out of curiosity, but because kindness draws kindness. The same street that once ignored him now stood still. When Samuel finished, the little girl clapped with all her heart. The others joined. Some threw coins, others simply smiled. But Samuel didn't look at the money. He looked at the little girl. "Thank you," he whispered. She grinned. "Mommy says music is magic. I think you're a wizard." Samuel laughed, a sound he hadn't heard from himself in years, and from that day on, he never played alone again. Kindness doesn't need to be big to be powerful. Sometimes all it takes is one person who stops and listens, one smile, one moment, one heart. Never underestimate the difference you can make, because to someone, you might be the music they've been waiting for.